Grateful for your company. Straight to our very first story. Government says it is proceeding to contribute troops to the ECOWAS standby force despite calls by the minority side to seek parliamentary approval. ECOWAS yesterday stressed that they will send security intervention to Niger and announced that it has agreed on a date to do that. The minority, I beg your pardon, has insisted that the government needed to get parliament's backing before joining the ECOWAS security intervention in Niger. Minister of Information, Kojo Nkrumah, disagrees with their position.
Ghana here, at least, it is not fair to make comments that suggest that Parliament is being ignored. In fact, on the 21st of August 2023, the Ministers of National Security and Foreign Affairs requested to brief the Joint Committees of Foreign Affairs and Defense and Interior on the development so far and what Ghana was considering. You notice that in my brother Sami's submissions, that came later. I was not front-loaded. The front-loaded submission suggested that Parliament was being ignored. But here in Ghana, we have briefed at our request, not at our invitation, at our request, the Joint Committees of Foreign Affairs and Defense and Interior. Again, the suggestion that Article 75 requires some prior parliamentary approval or ratification is incorrect. Article 75 is about treaties and agreements. It is not about contributing to a multilateral engagement, because when you have a multilateral engagement, as has happened in times past, and I can give you a whole retinue of times when Ghana has been involved in multilateral engagements. 2002 in Cote d'Ivoire, 2013 in Mali, 2016, 2017 in Gambia. If it is a multilateral engagement from a body that Ghana is part of, you do not require prior approval, but the decent thing to do, the important thing to do is to engage Parliament first so that you do full disclosures to Parliament about why you are, a part of this enterprise, what the risks are, how you are mitigating them. And of course, if some financial commitment is required from the Treasury, you will need to get the kind of approval for it.
Democratically elected governments must not be removed through unconstitutional means. These are the words of South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has condemned the military takeover in the Republic of Niger. The South African government says it is activating measures to repatriate 22 of its citizens caught in the diplomatic row between West African sub-regional body ECOWAS and the military junta in Niger, who have threatened each other with a military standoff, raising fears of a possible full-blown war in West Africa. The president was making a brief statement on his expectations as the Brics summit kicks off in South Africa. Blessed Soga reports from South Africa.
The government of South Africa says it is bringing back home 22 of its nationals who have been caught up in the escalating tension between the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the military junta in the Republic of Niger after the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum was deposed at the end of last month. Cyril Ramaphosa has been indicating the position of his government, stating that democratically elected government should not be removed through unconstitutional means. The South African president says he supports the intervention plans by the sub-regional body ECOWAS. It is unclear if that is a tacit approval of the decision by the Economic Community of West African States to use military force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. In the meantime, Cyril Ramaphosa says he's in talks with the Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, to ensure that there is a return of constitutional rule in the Republic of Niger. He says he'll pursue that through the framework of the African Union.
The military intervention? Yes, we are extremely concerned about what is happening in Niger. The other day I was walking in the street and I met a young woman who told me that her boyfriend, a South African boyfriend, is trapped in Niger. And she said, "President, can you do something to bring my boyfriend home?" And I said, yes, we will bring your boyfriend home as we bring the 22 others, because there are 23 South Africans there. We are concerned about that coup and we condemn it. We firmly believe that democratically elected governments must not be removed through unconstitutional means. ECOWAS is firmly seized with this matter, and through the AU we will support the efforts and the interventions that they seek to make. But as South Africa, we are talking to the leaders of ECOWAS, and just the other day I was talking to President of Nigeria as well as other presidents. So we are keeping a very close eye on that.
Well, the South African president is making these statements ahead of a crucial summit that is scheduled to be held here in South Africa, together with their BRIC allies, which includes the likes of the Federal Republic of Russia, which the Economic Community of West African States is accusing of sponsoring the increasing spate of military takeovers in the West Africa sub-region, with the latest being the Republic of Niger, where the Wagner forces have been contracted to be a part of the support base for the military junta. It is unclear what statement President Cyril Ramaphosa will make to the Russian government, but he says that in the coming days he will make his foreign policy position on these matters known, and we're waiting to see if that will be made at the summit here in South Africa. Blessed Sugan reporting for Joy News, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa forming the BRICS are meeting in Johannesburg. And head of our Foreign Affairs Desk, Blessed Sugan, joins us live with more. Blessed, pleasure you could join us on Joy News Prime. What is the theme for this year's summit, Blessed?
Well, so Pius, the basic reason for which we have the likes of South Africa, Russia, India, and China meeting here in Johannesburg is simply because they want to advance the level of partnership that they have. Moving away from the traditional alliance of just having South Africa as its sole member when it comes to African countries. Originally, you have Brazil, India, China, and South Africa forming an alliance. However, the decision of the multilateral body now is to reach out to more African countries and to forge closer ties for mutual economic development and benefits. So it's the reason for which we're seeing all of these countries come together and to hold this summit together with their leaders to explore possible ways by which they could accelerate growth on the continent of Africa. And that's why the theme of the event is on partnership between Africa and the BRICS and ways by ensuring inclusive multilateralism.
And why is this summit so important?
Well, it's important because the world as we know it is experiencing some interesting developments when it comes to geopolitics. We know that after the COVID-19 pandemic, the economic outlook has not been too good for all countries across the world. Even the superpowers, they've all had challenges in terms of how their economies have fared. So new partnerships are being formed, and countries are exploring ways by which they could access new markets and to form new partnerships for accelerated growth. So it's the reason for which this year's meeting is coming at a time where there are serious geopolitical matters that have to be dealt with alongside the economic concerns that are being raised. We know that, for instance, there's a Russia-Ukraine war, which President Akufo-Addo has talked about how that has impacted countries such as Africa. So it is not, mutually exclusive to say that we cannot talk about these issues on the continent, just simply because it's happening elsewhere. We know that the effects are telling on the continent is the reason for which South Africa says it is reaching out to be that bridge between the African continent and the likes of Russia and India, as well as China, which are now emerging markets, which will play a significant role in the rebound of all of these emerging.
And Blessed, the South African government says it is hoping to leverage its alliance with BRICS to boost the prosperity of Africa. Really, in what ways do they intend to do that?
The South African government says that it is a firm believer in the framework of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That's the AfTA
network, which is creating the biggest market around the world. But beyond that as well, knowing that they've always championed it. In fact, they have one of their own serving as the Secretary General of the Free Trade Agreement. They would want to go a step further by, exploring possible partnerships and strategic investments that they do have, and position themselves in a way that more foreign direct investments will come into the country and by extension affect the entire African continent. So that's how South Africa says it is positioning itself. We wait to see if these issues will feature in the Brics summit, which is underway. In fact, the President Cyril Ramaphosa will be addressing the nation tomorrow. He says he'll be making significant comments on the foreign policy matters and matters that concern African economies. But it is confirmed now that 50 heads of states will be attending this very event, and Cyril Ramaphosa is describing that as an indication that Brics is now becoming a pivotal institution that many economies within Africa can revolve around to get an economic rebound. So we wait for the coming days and also to expect at least a word from him on some of the happenings in our sub-region when it comes to the Nigerian coup. We saw the South African president there indicating his position on the matter and pointing out that the African Union will provide the framework for the likes of South Africa to support, measures by the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to ensure that there is constitutional order in the West Africa sub-region, because the potential benefits will be for all and not just the West Africa sub-region.
Very well. Thank you very much, Blessed Suga, head of our foreign desk, bringing us up to speed on the latest in South Africa. Let's come back home, and reshaping work has started on the 3.8-kilometer boom barrier to Michelle Camp Road after a strike by commercial drivers on August 14. The strike left residents stranded at lorry terminals with drivers demanding of road repairs. 4 days later, the Katamanso Municipal Assembly has begun reshaping parts of the road, but residents and drivers maintain they want a permanent solution. Carlos Kaloni reports.
Welcoming the grading work by Katamanso Municipal Assembly 4 days after their strike, which left residents stranded at various lorry terminals, Chairman of the Kpong Barrier Taxi Drivers Union, Rexford and TMO, maintained they expect all enclave roads to be graded and asphalted.
First of all, I thank him once again for the good work that he's doing. But that is not all. As he said that they are only tackling on this Kpong Barrier to Michelle Camp Gate, I will plead that the rest of the road, that is high tension to Yellow Sandboard, I'm pleading on him to do something amicably for us. And also, if you can see right now, the gutter is the problem now. So we are pleading on them if we can get a backhoe to remove the gutter inside from. You can see that right now the water is passing through the road, and if something is not done amicably, the road will be useless. What they're doing now, it will not be any profit now.
Meanwhile, some shop owners along the stretch see the municipal assembly's reshaping works as futile, since road problems will persist regardless.
With the road, what they are doing, I don't think it will help, because this road that is generating a lot of income for the country, and the road have to be fixed in a good shape so that it can make business become more easy and this thing for the citizens. Because with this, it's affecting the shop though. Yeah, because of the dust, too much dust is affecting our product right here, and some of the things are going bad, especially some mental stuffs. When the dust enter, it's not good for selling again. This won't help. It won't even take up to a month before it will start generating another problem again, because these heavy duty cars, they normally use this road. These tanker cars, they normally use the road. So with this is not the best solution.
You can see yourself that the more they are doing it, the rain surface is spoiling everything here. Not even the rain, where the sun shines, all the dust will be coming inside the gutter again. That's the thing that have been choking the gutter. And if the gutter is choked, I don't think when it rains, the rain will go to the main gutter. It will spread all the roadside, and the roadside will be full of frost, and I don't think this place is going to be okay for us. So they have to do the gutter and the road for us.
The assemblyman for Mlechakpo electoral area, Isaac Newton Tete, notes that though refreshing, the community will still deliberate on roads in the enclave due to governmental neglect.
For us to see strips of laterite and then subsequent grading, it means that authorities have listened or heard our plea, and they have in a way met our request in a way. But then this is not what we wanted. We want an asphaltic overlay across the entire stretch of the road. And sometimes it's also very disheartening to hear from the sector minister to tell us that the government have no plans for this. Sometimes it's very heartbreaking. So we are accepting this for now. But the real deal will come in the subsequent days, because myself and the stakeholders, including the residential associations, we're going to call for a town hall meeting. If it demands that we do this road ourselves, we can. Because if you take the 17-kilometer stretch of road from the runabout to Mucho area, the company, the BHM, we can contact them. We also have Inzang at the other side of the N2. So we meet them and see what they also bring on the table. If they are kind of bargaining will be in interest of the community, and we know we can afford, we will lobby the various homes and the companies to see if they can come and help us fix this road. Because government says they have no plan for us now, and we can't wait till the next year or next budget to do that.
While Konkatamanso municipality has been a strong contributor to the country's internally generated funds, over 70% of its roads are impassable. Drivers remain watchful, ready to resume their strike if roads aren't improved. Carlos Caloni, Bone Barrier.
Watch and join NewsPrime with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We've got more for you after this break. Hello, welcome back. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is halting commercial transport activities at 7 unauthorized locations in the central business district of the city. This is under the second phase of the Assembly's transport reorganization exercise to decongest the city and center. Some affected transport operators blame the current situation on the Assembly's conversion of the Kejetia transport terminal into a market. Nanaya Ojima visited the CBD and has filed this report.
Kejetia is at the heart of the central business district of Kumasi. The space was a bus terminal before it became a market. Prior to its redevelopment, Kejetia was mainly a transport terminal accommodating hundreds of vehicles. Commuters within and outside the Ashanti region made their way to Kejetia to board their buses. Isaac Quinn has plied the Kejetia-Bantama route for over 3 decades. He said the change in purpose of the Kejetia bus terminal to a market is the cause of the rise in unauthorized terminals.
We
all used to work in Kejetia. After the redevelopment, we didn't get space to work, so we had to make space here. Now, how do we feed our families if you reject us?
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly says appropriate measures were put in place to ensure the change in purpose does not affect transportation.
Kejetia used to have 1,200 capacity, but after construction we have 108. And so we made some few stations stand on the road, and these are mostly stations that run on the 10-15 kilometers radius of Kumasi for taxis and trotros. Okay, so these stations are on the streets, and they have specifically indicated number of slots.
A drive through sections of the Asantehenes Ceremonial Street in the CBD is a tough one. Commercial trotro drivers have taken over part of the road to load passengers. They acknowledge the inconvenience posed to other motorists but are reluctant to relocate.
The place is congested, but we make sure we operate at the portions of the road so the congestion won't be too bad. There is some congestion here, so we call out the passengers as the car moves. We don't stay on the road to load passengers.
atonsu ba me fansa atonsu ba na ofa edum side wa ho nyina bibi no obetime alodu afa asabe fa atonsu ako enti we de esrem a momoe na ahana mo betu ye ne de we de esrem munye bibimaye.
In the past few weeks, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has upheld its resolve to decongest the city. The first phase involved the restriction of commercial tricycle Pragya operations, which resulted in a standoff. Head of the KMA Transport Department, Randy Wilson, explains plans outlined to carry out the operations.
Places like the Otunfo roundabout in Ko, which the Ebuakwa and Santasi taxis, their station is just across the street, just across Unibank, but right in front of the roundabout and KGT exit, that is where they are loading. And the idea is that when a vehicle is arrested and it has passengers in it, no passengers should be allowed to get off. And they will all have to be taken to the KMA towing yard. And then when you get there, then you find your way out.
Flouting the regulations will attract a fine pegged between 500 and 1,000 cedis, depending on the size of the vehicles arrested. The Assembly has further indicated the enforcement of restricted hours for trucks offloading wares in the CBD. Meanwhile, traders who have taken over pavements in the CBD continue to impede the movement of pedestrians and motorists. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima reporting.
Onto some business story. As part of Ghana's energy transition agenda, Chief Executive of the Volta River Authority, Emmanuel Entridakwa, said there is a need for massive investments to draw in more young people. According to him, this is key to encouraging local content. He spoke to Joy Business at the Energy Personality Outreach Program organized at the Brics Senior High School.
I just think that an all-rounded individual, it doesn't matter whether you did visual art, you can transcend or switch over into energy later on in your life. So yes, our main objective was to encourage science students to go into the energy field, but also to tickle the fantasy of those who are non-science students, that everything is possible. That can do spirit. They should develop it. So it doesn't matter whether you're a history student, and as Kwame said, whether you're a lawyer, you can move into the energy space at some point in time in your life. So that was the message that we've left with them. We'll engage the school. I think that's what we've done with our previous encounters. We'll engage the school. The school lay out what exactly they want from us as role models, and then we'll respond accordingly. But at a minimum, we've made some donation of laptops. That's to encourage them, and to encourage the individuals who've been given those laptops, that if you work hard, if you are diligent, and you do what you have to do, there's a reward that helps guide your future.
And that's it for Joy News Prime. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Let's connect same time tomorrow. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.